here. Hello and welcome to Sean Snowday Presents once more with Misty Cortez. Man, Misty, it has been quite a day. Before we start, how was your holiday?
It was nice. So my birthday is today.
Oh, happy
And
birthday.
thank you. And so I always spend the Thanksgiving weekend putting up Christmas decorations. That's my birthday present.
Oh, nice.
Is getting all the kids to help me.
Well, I don't know. I'm not festive like that. Yeah, I just ate a bunch of pumpkin pie, pecan pie, apple pie.
I did a crustless pumpkin pie made with honey instead of refined sugar. So none of our food had refined sugar this year.
Wow.
I know.
That's interesting.
Trying to get better.
All I had was refined sugar. I was taking whipped cream straight from the can. Okay, so we're going to go over, finding the power partners. But, one of the problems that I have is, people are always, especially for me, when it comes to speakers. Oh, I could speak about anything. Oh, I'm a speaker. Hey, I'm looking for some speakers. Everyone's a speaker in their head, but they're not in reality. So when it comes to partnerships, I've had some really powerful partners, and then I've had partners that have taken advantage of me. And I shouldn't say it that way. I was too naive to know that I was being taken advantage of.
Sure.
And then I've had other partners that were great, and then some that it wasn't a fit immediately. So how do we find the diamond in the rough? What are some of the things you do?
Well, I think the first thing that we have to do is identify, what do we want out of this relationship? Like, what is our goal ultimately, right? Because if we don't go in looking for partners that are going to help us align with the goals that we have for our business, it just doesn't make sense to pursue that. So, are you looking for visibility? Are you looking for leads, clients? Maybe you want to co-create a product together, right? So, there's lots of different reasons why you would pursue a partnership. I think but once you identify, what are you looking to accomplish, then you can start actually putting together I call it the hit list, but yeah. I think someone else calls it the Dream 100 list. That's probably way more appropriate than my hit list, but same thing.
I like hit list. One of the things is, and that's true, it's like, what exactly type of partnership are you looking for? A lot of times the partnerships I'm looking for are going for me, it's going to be speakers, people speaking from the stage. It's also going to be people that do affiliate that will blast out to their list. My event and vice versa, I'll blast out to my list. And one of the difficulties is they're like, oh yeah, I sent the email out, but they sent it to like 5 people,
Right.
and they just tag it in such a way. And but then there's also partnerships and business partnerships. So when you say, what is the goal? What is the vision? What are some techniques you've used in order to even just create that at the forefront?
Yeah, I think it's just sitting down and saying, where am I taking my business? Like, what do I need right now in my business? Oftentimes, a lot of the clients I work with, they're focused on one of two things, either leads or clients. Like right. That's usually their objective. So I think it's pretty safe to say probably 99% of the people that might listen to this are probably in the same boat.
Oh yeah.
So that's, that makes that part pretty easy,
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, with the clients, and it's especially like in leads a lot, there's in my world, there's 2 types of clients. There's the traffic and there's the conversions. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people that do conversions, they really don't understand traffic. They just look at a bunch of leads that come in and they're like, ooh, look, more leads. They don't have any idea how the leads got there. And they think that that lead gen is easy. It's just, you just pull out I used to have a little bullhorn here, and for some reason I put it on my chair about 3 weeks ago and I sat on it. But they think you could just yell out, hey, over here, get your free pizza, and people show up. It's not like that. So when it comes to partnerships to drive traffic, I found, I even had my own challenges with that, with doing paid ads, doing just social media. How would you find the right partner? I know uh, his name is Awesome um, Qasim. You know Qasim? He's
I
in
don't
Phoenix.
think so.
It's Qasim. It rhymes with awesome. And it's Kasim. I think his last name is Aslam.
Oh, yes, I do know him, yes.
Aslam. Yeah,
Yep.
Qasim. And so he drives a lot of traffic. He does a lot of that. So and he's someone that I would trust and respect. So how do you find people, partnerships that are going to do that? Let's say a lot of people have gone down the Fiverr route and got burned. So what are some stories or some techniques you can use to avoid that?
Well, I think, there's partnerships everywhere, literally, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But you have to do your homework. So, I mean, you can find partnerships at events, at networking, online, in groups, your local chambers. I mean, it really just depends, like, where who is already speaking to your ideal customer,
Hmm.
right? Also, what can you bring to the table to benefit the relationship? So most individuals nowadays, that are looking for partnerships, that they want it to be mutually beneficial. Like, what are
Yeah.
you bringing to the table to my audience? And so you got to do your due diligence. So once you create that hit list of 100 people. So I tell clients to make a list of 100. Most of the time when you're first starting out, you'll probably think, oh, I don't even have 100 people that I would like to connect with. Well, over time, you'll start to your eyes will start to open up to these opportunities of people that you can
Yeah.
actually network with. Depends on where you're at in your business. If you've been doing this for years, you probably it can easily come up with 100 people. But if you're
Yeah.
fairly new, it might take you a little bit, but just keep adding to that list. And the reason why the top 100 is because some of those relationships are going to take time to nurture and grow and develop, and others might happen right away. So you want to constantly be adding to and removing from the list, right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Absolutely. And exploring, one of the things, you're going into a real scary territory for me anyhow,
Hmm.
which is working with coaches and building that all out. And I found, some of the people that I work with that are coaches are just great, and others are just uh challenges.
Well, they're
And
growing. They're
I
growing.
yeah, well, I've had people that are they're doing good. I took someone on earlier, and they really, everything was broken. Now, what I did for them, I thought, oh, it's going to be easy migration. I just take this and I bring it over here, and it's wonderful and easy, right? Go high level migration. You really just put their email, you migrate it over into yours. Their CNAME, their DNS, their everything. They would give me access to their DNS, and then they'd change the password.
Yeah.
And I'd go, what? What? Oh, I had changed the password. Why? Well, I forgot what it was. Well, you just changed it like 2 hours ago, and I was working in there.
Well, that's
Oh,
more
okay.
client relations than partnerships, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's client relations, but I'm saying like just that partnership or that relationship that you have with clients.
Hmm.
And then some other clients are just like, they're just like, I've had people just go, here's my list of passwords, figure it out, and then they go
Right.
away. But when we're talking more like business partnerships, but I kind of went that way because I'm working with some people right now that are I have a few clients right now that are really adorable, and I have another client that I kind of have to partner with them a little bit, and they are sitting on a gold mine. And I'm like, you guys, you just need to do one little tweak, and this thing's gonna blow up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
think that that's an opportunity. So if you're already serving clients and you're looking for partnerships, your clients are a great place to go. I mean, they already know, like, and trust you. They're spending money with you. So
yeah,
going to them and saying, "Hey, maybe there's an opportunity to partner with them specifically,
Right.
or maybe they know someone. So when you're asking for referrals, one thing I learned, I used to work in personal finance, and I used to sit down with families, at their kitchen table. And I in the beginning, when I was new, I didn't know how to ask for referrals. I would say, "Hey, who do you know who needs help with their, money, with their finances?" And of course, we all know hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of people, right? And so they really had a hard time coming up with names. So what I found was that if I said, "Hey, who's your son's soccer coach?" They knew the name. And I'd
Yeah.
say, "He'd be a great referral for me." And then
Yeah.
I'd say, "Who's your daughter's dance, or best friend? Who's their parents?" They would be a great referral for me. So when you're asking clients for partnerships, you want to be very specific. Don't just say, "Hey, who do you know who would be a great partner for me?" Because now you're making them do the work.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do the work. And
Yeah.
not to mention, there's just too much going on in our brains and too many connections that we can't filter it down. But if you said to me, "Hey, Misty, I'm really looking to get partnered with this type of person," and you gave me very specific, I could actually probably refer you.
Yeah, that's interesting because I gotta but it's also, the way you do the top of mind. So it's like,
Mhm.
"Hey, who do you know?" Well, I know 1,000 people.
Yeah.
But, when you say something specifically like what you said,
Yeah,
"Who's
who's
your
your CPA?
soccer coach?" or whatever. Because I ask people, um, "Hey, what kind of music do you like?" "Well,
Mhm.
I like all kinds of music." And I'm like, everybody says, and I've been asking this question for about 2 years because in my head, I just go rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
And then I could drill down, but for some reason, people won't answer that out here
Yeah, you just gotta ask better
where
questions.
I live from. So drilling down, finding that specific. So say like you were to get, let's say, the soccer coach, and you got in touch with the soccer coach,
Yeah.
and you're trying to get through their sphere of influence. Well, this is like drilling down, but then you also have to find the diamond in the rough, right? So what I mean by that is you're going to find people, they're going to refer people, but they're just not going to be the best fit, right?
Well, if you're asking for the right people, they should be a good fit. That
Yeah.
so the responsibility lies on the person asking, right?
Yeah.
But one thing that you brought up, uh, kind of take it a step further. So, and this is pulling it out of the archives from my previous career, but um, when it comes to kind of getting in good graces or reaching out to that coach, you don't want to just be someone who's cold calling people because they're not going to be receptive to that.
Right.
Even if you're name dropping. So even if I said, "Hey, coach, my name's Misty, Sean, referred me to you," their mind is processing, "Who are you? Why would Sean give you my name?" Like it's not going to be good. Trust me, I've
Yeah.
done thousands and thousands of calls back in the day. So what I would do is I would say, "Hey, Sean, can you do me a favor? Can you just send coach a quick message, a text message, letting him know, giving him a heads up that I'm going to be calling and the reason why?"
Right.
And then that way I have a warm introduction. So by the time I actually make the call, coach already knows who I am. Sean already introduced us. Like we're kind of warm, a warm relationship at that point. So if
Right.
you have the opportunity to do that, absolutely pursue that.
So now one of the challenges, um, we would do the email, like the email intro, and just, "Hey, just put us all in the same email," and then we could loop you out. And then we started doing texting, but then they started doing group texting. And
Yeah, I
then,
never did that. I
yeah,
I
well, the
don't know.
problem is you couldn't leave the group,
Yeah.
because they didn't
Yeah.
have the technology. They have it now where you could just say, "Leave this."
Yeah, but when you're sending out mass, like if I have you shown, introducing me to 25 people that you just referred to me in a mass text,
Oh,
first of all,
no.
it's going to sound like a mass text from most people.
I
That's
was
another
just saying
thing.
I was just saying a one-on-one, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
well, that's another thing I always did as I wrote the message I wanted you to send.
yeah,
So I wrote it, text it to you, had you copied the text, and then you would forward that on to coach. So I
right.
knew it would say what I needed it to say in order to do the introduction properly.
Right, so you're not playing the game telephone
Yeah, and then I
with
would teach telephone, and I would teach because when it comes to referrals, the person referring shouldn't have to do a bunch of work,
no,
right? And so you don't want them to have to know what to say, how to answer questions, how to overcome objections. You know what? You don't want any of that, especially when it comes to personal finance. But
Right.
I mean, I would say this relates to any industry.
Oh yeah.
So I would just say, "Hey, Sean, listen, can you send this text message? And here's what's going to happen." So I would tell you, he's probably going to come back and ask more questions, and I just want you to say this as a response. I don't want you to open up the conversation. I don't want you to try to be a salesperson. I don't want you to try to do my job. I just need you to introduce me and I'll take it over from there. So I trained them how to refer me properly so that it didn't become a burden to them for the referral, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not the tough part. That's making it more easy. I have a lot of times people they'll want to do, like, I just got this the other day from, and these guys are good, and you know them, and they own a SaaS,
Mhm.
and they have an event coming up, and they said, "Hey, Sean, because they know my list is agencies, they said, "Hey, Sean, we have an event coming up, and we'd love for you to. It'd be a great fit for everyone that you know. We'd love for you to invite them our way."
Mhm.
I was like, "Okay, like, is that it?" They didn't tell me. They told me, like, where the event, the date and time. It was a live event, but they didn't tell me, what the event was about. They didn't give me any content or copy. And I get this so many times where it's just not succinct in how I'm going to communicate out to the people that I'm going to either refer or invite. So when it comes to that, I want to talk a little bit about AI because uh, we used to have to write our own messages, but if you were to write a message today, asking, this is what you want the person that's going to refer you, what prompt would you use?
Well, first of all, you got to train. I call them G. I use Chat GBT. I know there's lots of other tools out there, but whatever you use, it doesn't matter. Um, you have to train G to know who you are and what your tone of voice is. So it's actually taking marketers and businesses back to the roots of marketing, which is start with branding. Because
Yeah,
branding isn't just a logo and colors. Branding is your tone of voice, your approach to communicating and attracting clients. And so when you train G on your tone of voice, he'll get better at being able to articulate that tone through your messaging. But in the beginning, it's going to be very generic. And if so, we just talked about the warm market, like how can I get you to refer me to your son's coach? When you're in the online environment, you don't have that opportunity, right? Typically. So you're making cold outreach. Well, when it comes to cold outreach though, man, there isn't a day that goes by I don't get outreached by people, and they're basically all saying the same message, only and it all sounds like it was written by a robot, like it
yeah,
was written by AI. So I would challenge you to write your message and then ask G to refine it if need be, but make it sound like a human. Make it sound like something you would say to someone when you talk to them, because otherwise you're just going to sound like everybody else.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing is, with with using any type of AI and then reaching out to partnerships. There's also using the things in LinkedIn to reach out to people and saying, "Hey, will you partner with me?" And Wes Schaefer, he doesn't do this anymore, but he's the sales whisperer. You can just Google the sales whisperer or Wes Schaefer. Schaefer is spelled like it sounds. And he used to always talk about, hey, people are chatting with me through LinkedIn, but they haven't read my profile. They don't know anything about me. They just say, hey, it sounds like you and I have the same friends, and you'd probably be someone that we should talk. And then they go right into sales, like, hey, do you want to buy my stuff? So
Yeah.
when it comes to searching through people through social media for partnerships, what would be the fastest way to find someone? And I know how I do it, but what do you do?
I don't know that it's the fastest way, but it's probably the proper way. 1, follow them.
Yeah.
2, engage with their posts.
Yeah.
3, comment, like actually engage in their community, bring value to their community, uplift them, give them shout outs to their community on their, when they create quality content, say something about that. Share their content with other people and tag them in it. Make yourself be known. When something is worthy, something that they do is worthy of you dropping in their DMs, drop in the DM and say, hey, give them a little private, you know, kudos, if you will. It's kind of slowly but surely build that relationship up. I think if you go right towards the, hi, my name's Misty, I need to speak at your next event, you're going to turn them off, and they're probably going to remember you, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to be remembered. You want them to go, by the time you've dropped a DM, they've seen you already in their community offering value and, being a contributor.
Yeah. I actually have this software called Break Cold. And what it does is it connects everyone. And then I can go like through this software, I can like, and then I can comment, and then I can follow. Oh, no, I don't think I can follow, but I have to already be connected with them.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't. I could just, but anyhow, I can like, I can comment, I can do all this stuff. And then also it's a CRM. So I have their phone number, their email, I can do all this stuff. I have to add it. It's a lot of manual work, but it really, so with the big time coaches that I'm trying to connect with, I can really connect with them and interact with them through this software. And that way it's not blasted all over the place. But there's other things that people are using that are automating social media, like Hootsuite, stuff like that. I don't want to say like too many names of software because people are people. But like I got the guys from Shark Tank. So one of the things I was doing, and I'm not doing it anymore, but I had a thing called, and this had to do with partnerships, is called the Choreography of Negotiation podcast.
Mm.
And what it had to do with, how do you choreograph a negotiation? And so I found all of the people that were on Shark Tank season 1, and I found them all in LinkedIn, and then I started doing that, and then I started interacting with them, and then I was going to go, hey, why don't you come on my podcast? But it was too strenuous, it was too manual, and it took too long. So that was one of the things that I did, exactly what you said, but I had to use certain tools to do it. I don't know what other question to ask about this.
Well, I think another thing that comes to mind that I often see people do is they're trying to fast forward the relationship. And so they'll send me a cold DM. They don't follow me. They don't comment. They don't, we have no relationship whatsoever. Then they cold DM me. And then 3 DMs later, they're like, well, apparently you don't have enough time for me. Like, it's almost like passive aggressive. And I'm like, excuse me, I don't know who the hell you are. You know what I mean? So like, just because you reached out to me three times, and then I'll see people just put hello in the subject line with no message. Like, again, you're working with people, and if you actually want a relationship with these folks, that is not the way to get it.
Yeah.
And if I remember your name, it's probably because you sent me messages that like were very passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily, because now the relationship is like burnt, really, because and the thing is like, good people don't do that. Like, I don't even know why we have to say this stuff, but we do, because good people just don't do that.
I do the hi and the hello, but I do it to people I know.
Well, yeah, that's different.
Yeah, like,
Well, and
hey.
even that, I'll be honest. My best friend could send me a message, "Hey," and I would not respond back to that because I don't know what the hell you want.
Yeah.
And I don't have time for that crap. Like, I am not in. I am. Yeah. Don't do that.
So
If we're
there's some of
friends,
the
don't do that to me.
I'll tell you some of the reasons I do it
Yeah.
is so, and I do this with people that I meet at an event. So you can go on your phone and you can pull up your LinkedIn QR code, and most of the people that I meet at our events, they're just really not technically savvy. They're not super nerds. They don't even know how to get their QR code in LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, now we're going to connect. And now I'm just going to say hi. Right. And so I say hi. And then what happens is it's at the top of my chat within LinkedIn. So when I come home, I'm like, oh, these are all the people I talk to. So if I talk to 10 or 20 people, then I have them all at the top. So I could go, hey, this is Sean. We met at the event, blah, 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 get to know them a little bit better. And then kind of I can sort them out, like who's the one that is the smellathon lady.
Mhm.
Like she smells. She sells fragrances to executives that want to have a nice smelling off. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know. And so I don't really want to interact there. But then there's the other guy who's like the Google Ads guy. There's this one guy, his name's Craig. I forgot his last name, but he has this really cool thing. I got to contact him. I totally forgot about that guy. But see, that's the thing is you and I as Keep partners, we fill those empty buckets, but then we have these empty buckets in our own business, right?
Mhm.
So anyhow, what do you
Well,
have to
that's
say?
another thing that comes to mind with what you said is, when you have your list, I would work the list like you would any prospects or leads that are on your list. Um, Meaning set time aside every single day to be intentional. When I first moved to Arizona, I didn't know I knew one person, but they lived 2.5 hours away and they were 80 years old. So I basically didn't know anybody. I was starting over fresh in a brand new business. So I had moved from personal finance. I was starting to do marketing coaching on the side. And one of the things I did is I would go to networking meetings. I couldn't give referrals, so I didn't join the networking meetings. I went for the first time. I had a hit list and I went and I said, "Sean, I came to this meeting today so I could meet you." That was my opening statement.
Right.
Right? And I did. And I had scouted out who I needed to make connections with and why I needed to make the connections. I would have a one-on-one with you. We'd grab coffee or what. Usually I do coffee. I don't do lunch because it's too busy. I don't know. We live in a busy area. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
standing in lines. I'm not going to take a half a business day to do it. We're going to grab coffee somewhere easy and convenient for the two of us, quick in and out within an hour at the most. Right. And then when we would meet one on one, I would basically be ready just to kind of let you take the floor. I wasn't there to really sell myself. But then when I left the meeting, I would say, "Hey, Sean, is it okay if I follow you?" Because back in the day, you used to get penalized. I don't know if this is still a thing. You used to get penalized if you sent friend requests and people didn't accept it. Remember that? I don't know if that's
Are
still a
you
thing
talking about in LinkedIn or in
in Facebook.
um well, I remember that you would send they would say, hey, you send too many friend requests. You
That's
gotta
what I mean, and if they don't accept it, it
Yeah.
would penalize you, and sometimes it would even shut down your account. So I always said, "Hey, Sean, would it be okay if I sent you a friend request and we stayed connected?" And
Yeah.
of course, you just talked for an entire hour while I just listened, right? And
Yeah.
we're friends, and you'd say, "Yeah, absolutely." So that's what I would do is immediately after I got back to my office, I would friend request you. I would go through some of your posts too, and I would like comment or I would like them or I would share them. Anything, I would just engage with them authentically. I wouldn't do it on every one. That's just obnoxious and
Yeah.
stupid, you know, and I would start to continue that relationship. And then I would also send you a handwritten note that just said, "Hey, it was really great to meet with you. Yeah, I can't wait to see how our friendship blooms," or whatever, something like
Yeah.
along those lines. So I'd send that off as well. And then what I did is every single day forward, not necessarily on your profile because I was expanding, my audience was expanding and the list was growing and I didn't have time to like, comment, and share on everybody's post. But every single day, I set aside 15 minutes where I would just sit down and I would go through Facebook and I had a folder. You can actually set up folders in Facebook. I don't think people use these that often anymore. And I had a specific folder for those connections so that you could click on that folder and anybody who was in it, that's all the posts that you've seen. It filtered all the posts, right? And so then I would spend 15 minutes and I would interact with those individuals. And it's funny because I'm not a huge networker. I'm an introvert. I love being by myself. I do not like being in big crowds. I can do it. I've spoke on stages of 50,000 people before. I don't love it and it drains the crap out of me. But in any introvert who is a true introvert and doesn't just do it because they want to hide,
Yeah.
they know what I'm talking about, right? But when I would go to a networking event, because it does happen occasionally, um, I would walk in and it was like I was a superstar. Like people were like, "Hey, Misty, how you doing? How you doing? Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Oh, Misty, I got to show you." And here's the thing: I'm not a great networker. I'm just not. But I am great when I have a relationship with someone. I am a dependable, loyal. I'm a freaking Labrador. I just am. I have
Oh,
been for you, and you and I only connected a few months ago.
right.
Right? I'm a Labrador. I show up. I do what I say I'm going to do. I don't flake out. I actually want, if I choose to be in a relationship with you, I have a relationship and I value that relationship. And
Yeah, you
so,
pile on the cool. You bring
yeah,
a lot of value.
yeah, and I want to bring that to the table. So when I would go to these networking events, it was like I was a superstar, even though I'm not a master networker, because I was doing it in my own realm, in my home office, behind my computer. I was doing what I could in helping you get exposed, helping giving shout outs, sharing your stuff, and really just building that relationship. And the funny thing is oftentimes I only seen the person once in person.
Yeah.
Like, that's the craziness of it.
Yeah, that I had that with the San Diego Chamber of Commerce. Before I got into Infusionsoft, I was using it was a beta, it's called Chamber Zoom, it's now called Green Rope.
Hmm.
And I was the guy that like I was like, oh my God, this stuff is amazing. I get it for free. And so I was like blasting out these emails, growing a list. I'd come home with a stack of business cards. Remember, this is like in 2008 or whatever. I'd come home with a stack of business cards and I would just blast out to everyone, hey, I just saw you at the event and
Yep.
whatever. And then I'd end up coming to these events and again, hey, like everybody, I'd walk in and it was just the weird feeling for you being an introvert. It probably wasn't the most comfortable thing, but for me, I just felt like I was wearing a cape. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
no. I wanted to hide out in the bathroom by
I know I'm
myself.
not. I'm so extroverted. I piss off extroverts. They're like, dude,
I am the most yeah, I'm
they,
the most A-type personality. Like, personally, I'm driven, I'm goal driven, I'm all that stuff. But, like, when we go to events, I like to take people with me so that I can kinda, like, I have a shield.
yeah, yeah,
So I
that's
can
good.
protect myself. And even when I speak, I don't like I love I'm a words of affirmation girl. Like, if you've ever read the 5 love languages, I love when people give me, positive word, like when they say some nice things to me, that lifts me up. It fills my tank. But I also I like it at afar. Like
Yeah,
keep that 3 feet rule. I don't like people coming up into my personal space. It's just that I don't know, and it's not anything to do with them. It's me. It's me.
yeah. My love language is service. So I
Oh,
love
okay.
just I love serving, 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 serving. But then when people affirm me, like, Sean, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, dude, I just, and that's kind of the two that clash is
See,
I
I'm
want
the
to
flip
serve.
flop. I'm words first, service second.
See, I'm serve, but then like people that affirm me for it, I'm like, okay, can I get back to what I was doing? Like it's like you don't need to tell me that you appreciate me for doing what I'm going to do anyhow. It's
Right.
just how I feel. And I have some clients that, and especially when they say they're proud of me,
Mm.
and I don't need that. So and I go, oh, thank you, but it just
That's a
you know, like,
That's an interesting phrase. I just said it to a friend just recently. He shout out to Eddie Castellano. He just opened his own brokerage. He's been doing it for years
oh,
as a
nice,
top 1%er for several companies, but just started his own brokerage. And we've been friends he was at his wife actually. We became friends. That she was my first friend in Arizona. So it's
so
been
what
like
is he
13 years.
what's the brokerage? You give him a shout out.
It's CHC, and I can't remember what it means.
Yeah,
That's terrible. But yeah. So I just said to him as a shout out, I'm really proud of you because he posted a message that said, announcing his brokerage,
yeah,
and I said, I'm so proud of you. And you know what? As I wrote the words, the thought came to mind. You said like you often say that to kids, like to
yeah,
lift them up, but I don't know. It can also sound condescending
yeah,
when you're saying that to a grown ass adult. You know what I mean? But I still said it because I really am proud of him
yeah,
because he has come so far and he's like 10 years younger than well actually over 10 years younger than us.
yeah.
My husband and I and I don't know. He's almost the age of my oldest daughter, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Some adults actually need it. I've actually had people say to me and ask me, "Are you proud of me?"
Oh gosh. Yeah,
Adults.
I have too. Many clients now that you say that. Oh gosh, yeah. That's a
And
trigger
they're
for
the
me.
ones that need the affirmation.
Yeah, well, that is a sign that they need that, but also uh they lack confidence in their
Yeah.
ability to make decisions.
I think also they just didn't hear it enough growing up.
That could be too.
And so, but now we're kind of getting off track
I
into
know.
like life coach Misty Cortez. One of the things I found with partnerships, and just the ones where I was being taken advantage of and didn't know it. And this happens to me a lot because I don't realize how gifted I am and how much value I bring, and I just think everyone can do what I can do. So I'll just like, oh, I'll just pop up a landing page and I'll do this and that, and we'll get appointments set, and then you and I will split the difference. And then they get all the leads and they're like, sayonara. I'm like,
Right.
dude, I didn't even make anything. Well, I made like one guy, I made like 17 grand um from something that I did, but then that was one thing, but then he and I did two things and I lost a lot in the other thing. But I mean, he lost a lot as well. But
Well,
so
I can say I'll say something to this, that I learned from a good friend of mine back in Michigan. Shout out to Penny if she listens to this. Um, she taught me, and in the Bible it says that you don't give with the expectation of receiving. You
right,
give because you want to give. And
right.
that goes for loans too. So if someone comes to you and says, "Hey, can you loan me some money?" You do it with a giving heart, not with the expectation that they will actually pay you back. Because if they don't, for some reason, you don't want to burn that relationship. You either do it because you want to do it or you just don't do it.
Well, there's another reason to do that.
Yeah. Why?
Say like you don't want to talk to someone anymore.
Uh-huh.
You just give
Don't.
them some money. You loan them.
Well, that could be one way to do it. But no, if you give to give or you don't give
Yeah.
at all. I don't
Yeah.
know the exact quote, but someone can look it up.
Yeah. The
So you never burn relationships. I don't feel like I ever have burnt relationships. I go in as a person of service because that is my second love language.
yeah.
And I give what I can, and if the relationship isn't going where I thought it would go or whatever, like it's just not beneficial anymore or something's changed or whatever, I'm open and honest and just say, "Hey."
Well, I'll give you an example. There's someone that it's a mutual person that we know, and I was at Growth Summit, and so they said, "Hey, Sean, how's everything going?" And even though everything's going the way it is, it's going fine, right? Well enough. I said, "Oh, everything's horrible. I can't even get my foot in the door, right?" And because I wanted to see what was up, and so we're talking, and then they said, "How would you like to make an extra 5 grand a month?" And I was like, "Okay, like I already know where this is going." I'm like, "Okay, what would that look like?" Well, you just get me so many of my current clients and you close them and I'll give you 10% on a commission only. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's just
so you want me to do
not
commission?
a very good way to approach of affiliate relationship.
I already saw I already knew it before I went on the walk. I already knew it was going to be shenanigans. And but the thing is, I just wanted to see what the approach was and the things that he had said to break down a person to see where they're at. A lot of other people, um, it's like going down someone's funnel just to see where it goes. Like you
Yeah.
opt in and you're really not going to buy anything. So I went with that and I answered the questions in such a way to where I got to the point where the partnership was, and then it was just so. How do you know what are the red flags that you see when you go, oh, this is gonna go south? Have you ever?
Well, I think so. A couple of things. I don't know. I I feel
I,
like when I go around and I meet people, so if someone had approached me at an event like that and I knew who they were, like if they're a good person, right? If they have a good heart, they want to serve, but their skills are not in alignment with that. like they're not reflecting that. So if someone comes to me and says something like that, I'm just going to pull them aside and I'm going to say, "Hey, listen. I think what you have is valuable. I know that you're a person who serves others, and brings value. The way that you approached me didn't feel good. I just want to give you this feedback. You can take it or leave it, but I want to help. I want to coach them. So I'm like, I coach everywhere and I meet. Like,
Yeah.
if I meet you and you're not doing if I feel like you're hurting yourself in your approach, I'm going to use that as an opportunity to coach them. And if they receive it well, there still may be a viable opportunity for us to work together. But
Yeah.
if they're very defensive, that tells me a lot about their character and I'm going to move on. I'm going to say, "Hey, I just figured I'd give you the feedback and I wish you the best." And they're going to go do what they're going to do anyways, and that just tells me who they are and I'm not going to pursue that relationship.
Yeah.
So that's how I would do it personally. Because there are really good people out there that just don't have skill sets because they haven't developed them yet. And here's the thing, I don't know, I'm such a transparent and open person, way more than I probably even should be about a lot of things. If you read my book, you would know that. Like I literally laid my life on the table.
Right.
But I just think that we live in a world where, you know, we don't speak the truth enough, actually. And because of that, as an example, like years ago when I used to speak, I was a terrible speaker. I know I was a terrible speaker. You walk off the stage and I'm like, that was awful. I didn't feel good about delivering it. I knew I said about 100 million times. Like I broke all the rules to speaking. I wasn't as prepared as I should have been. I did not practice enough. Like I walked off knowing exactly where I was. People would come up to me and say, "Oh, Misty, you did a phenomenal job." And I'm like, "Did I really? Did I?" Because if they had been open and honest with me, if someone would have, with a caring heart, not being mean, right? If they would have come up to me and said, "It wasn't your best. I know that you're capable of more." It would have pushed me to get better faster. You know what I mean?
Well, I got
So,
some news for you about that because
yeah.
I speak a lot. I'm actually going on stage in a couple weeks and I paid a lot of money. I could have bought a used car for the
Yeah, well, I've done that too.
right? And
Mhm.
so the thing is that and I speak a lot, in other programs I'm in. And my friend just spoke the other day and I told him there's 3 pitches that you give every time. Do you know the 3 of them?
I don't well, the lead magnet, I don't know.
No.
No,
When you go to speak
I
on
have no idea.
stage.
Uh-uh.
So there's the one that you wanna give, and then the one that you give, and then the one you wish you would have given,
Oh,
right? And so the thing is people will go on stage and they'll go, "Ah," and the best one is the one you wish you would have given, right? Like, "Oh, I
right.
wish I would have said this. It would have been so good." But here's the reason I said that is one of my favorite bands, they're called the Musical Box. They're a Genesis tribute band. Long story, but I seen these guys, and so they play these small venues, and the culture is called prog rock. So we all kind of know each other. So I've been seeing these guys for the past 10 years. So I meet people just at the concert every year. And you get to know them for like 2 hours, but you remember them the next year. The
Right.
guy wearing the tie-dye shirt with the dreadlocks and the big feathers sticking out his head. But anyhow, so they played a show one time. This has to do with what you're talking about. They played a show one time and they played an album that I listened to. My whole family listened to this album in its entirety growing up, right? We listened to it every day for years. And so they played that whole album. And I was like, I left going, oh my God, that was the best show I've ever seen. I thought I was 14 again, right?
Yep.
Well, I come back the next year and it turns out the band almost broke up. They get on a big, huge fight afterwards because they thought that the other person wasn't playing right and someone was playing slower, and they got in a big, huge fight and almost broke up. So when you're on stage, people are having a different experience with you
Oh, for
than
sure.
you
And
think they are, and so um
yeah,
but
and I think there's some people that might listen to this and that gives them license to go and give everybody their opinion.
yeah,
And that's going to happen. I don't, there are people who are coming up who are figuring it out as they go and they know that. And I'm not I'm not pulling everybody aside saying, "Listen, let me coach you." But
Yeah.
when it's apparent, when it's
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's something that's very noticeable. I'm gonna do my job, I feel, as a mentor in life that God is like God put you in my path for a reason. So I'm
Right.
gonna be there to mentor you. But
Yeah. And I need a lot of it.
and then the other flip side of it, I've been the person who um people have given feedback. It's their opinion. And you need to know at your, you need to be able to discern those who are trying to change you to fit their needs, not that you necessarily didn't show up as your
Right.
best self. There's a big difference between that, and I don't know how to explain the difference, but I think we all know when we have had people come into our lives who've given opinions. Misty, I really think you need to do it this way, and I'm like, I I appreciate your feedback, but I've been doing this long enough now that I've developed this system based on feedback, and this is just their way of not taking responsibility as an example. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Without going into too much
Yeah,
detail,
no,
but
I get it because I get this a lot. I feel like I'm always in reprimand mode
yeah.
because I'm not going to go into whole my youth and all that stuff. But one of the things I learned is on a spiritual level is when you do go to say something to someone, you give two positives and then the truth as you understand it, and then another positive. So I'd say something like, hey, I really liked the topic that you spoke on. That was amazing. You really knocked that out of the ballpark. And I also liked your delivery because you tended to slow down and then speed up at the right times. So everybody was really engaged.
Yep.
However, when you said this one thing, it kind of offended not only me, but I looked around, a lot of other people were really offended by what you said. And I don't think you should say that anymore. But I really look forward to hearing you speak the next time. And if you add that in there, if it's part of it, that's great. But if not, then that'll be just as great, right?
Yeah.
So then you do two positives, a truth and a positive. But one of the things that you're talking about, and what I like about the Growth Summit is they're super nerds. So there's certain events that I go to where everyone's a coach. And they'll go because okay, I'm in recovery. You know that, right?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. So I'm in a 12-step program.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't, it's been like decades and decades and
No,
decades, right? But
today
the thing
probably is
is,
easier today than it was then. So
yeah, but the thing is that um people will like lecture me in there and they'll go, well, Sean, you know what you should do? And I'm like, yes, I do know what I should do. I didn't do it. I knew I shouldn't have done what I just did, right? Like maybe I told a joke that I shouldn't have.
mhm.
Like for instance, what did the pirate say when he turned 80 years old?
I don't know.
I'm matey. Uh, so right.
Kind of
So
offensive.
but the thing is when you go to these coaching events, everyone's in coaching mode.
Mhm.
Right? So if they go, "Hey, Sean, how are things going?" I'll go, "Oh, it's all right, not too high, not too low, just kind of right there." "Oh, well, what do you mean by that?" "Well, I'm just saying that I'm not manic and I'm not depressed. I'm not like, and they'll go, "Well, and then they want to dig down and they want to coach." So I found some coaching events. They're like, "Oh, well, it's all quantum physics and you just got to be happy all the time. And how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing great. Like business is great and blah blah blah. And at those events, I found that if you're not high energy and super stoked with every conversation, then people go in coaching mode. And I'm like, look, I don't want to learn how to eat carrots. People tell me like I'll say, I've been eating a lot of chicken wings and I think I've gained some weight. Oh, boom. Now it's their turn to come in and tell me how to eat.
Yeah.
So do you ever run into that to where you're like in coaching mode and people are like, "Wait a minute."
Well, usually there's an invitation
Yeah.
to them being coached, right? Like when I would walk off the stage back in the day, and even still to this day, I did this with you when I spoke at your summit. I said, "How'd I do?" And I approached you because I had created a new presentation you know, and I really wanted real feedback, like
Yeah.
open and honest feedback. I felt good about the delivery, but I wanted to make sure it was received the way I felt. And so I think when people ask, and very often, especially when you're new, people, or if you're doing something new, you may be in the, you know, in the industry for years, but you're doing something new. You're going to walk off and you're going to say, "Hey, you know, how did I do?" And that's the invitation to be coached.
Yeah.
My daughter called me out once, and I still find myself in this situation though. I'm not gonna lie. She's like, just because you make eye contact doesn't isn't an invitation for your opinion, mom.
Yeah.
Like, I actually put that as my profile for the longest time because it's
Yeah.
true. I have a tendency to want to overcoach too. I have really tried to be better at that since she called me out on that because I was like, that's true. That's fair.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, sometimes people, you know, they are in such coaching mode they lose sight.
I had to go a little bit in coaching mode at that event because one of the speakers, and God bless him, this he's listening, um, was reading the PowerPoint, like reading this line and then that line. And I'm like, okay. So then I started asking him questions about
Yeah.
what I was reading on there. And then he kind of looked at me like, you're interrupting me. And it like took him off of his. But then I don't know whether he realized or what I was doing or not. But when I started asking him questions and he started reacting, he went to the next slide and I'd read it real quick and go, oh, what's this right here? And then he was just doing a flow of consciousness. So it helped him speak better. But you got
Yeah.
to remember, it's my summit. I just can't put someone up there that's going to read PowerPoint slides. So so there's always, you know, that was like an opportunity. I don't know if it's an opportunity, but it was a situation where I had to go in, and it wasn't coaching, but it was interaction, you
For
know,
sure.
and bringing out the best in the person through, you know, interacting and stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're coming to the top of the hour, and I need a topic for next week. I made this topic up today because it was the holidays, and I was like, "Ooh, I got to come up with something." And I actually have something called Misty's Topics. Did you know that?
No.
So we have find partners, strategic power partners, connect with existing audience, social media, long form content, email marketing, creating content to drive traffic. One of the things, because I do events, but what would you think would be a good topic coming up? So
I don't know. I guess I would like to hear what the listeners are saying.
well,
What do they want us to drill down on more?
we could put it in the comments. I could blast out and ask what people
Yeah,
want.
I think that would be good.
One of the things, since I do is events, you know, it would be I'll give you an example because uh we have with the events that I'm doing, it's pre, post, and current, right? So before the event, what are you going to say? During the event, how are you going to market? Right? Like you could text out, so and so's on stage, like get in here, right?
Yeah,
Or you know, you don't really want to do a survey. But then also one of the campaigns I wrote recently was how to get the influencers at your event. So we're charging tickets for people to get in, but we want these other people, like I don't want to say Richard Branson, but that's the only name that came to mind, is say, well, if he's there, other people may or may not show up, right?
mhm.
Or Anthony Robbins. I mean, I don't even know what names to say now. Everyone's like so angry at
At
woke. I don't know who's woke and who's not. But my point is, I wrote a
everybody.
thing, an actual campaign that if you call someone and their admin answers, you send them to the admin, and the admin will send the link, and then the influencer will fill out the form if they want to come to your event, you know, and you got to call them multiple influencers. But the other thing is using QR codes, using the one count, how many times someone's come to an event.
Mm,
Now, where this benefits people and where it might benefit the listeners is if they're doing Zoom, like what we're doing here. You really got to look at the analytics. How many people are commenting? How many people are showing up? How many people are viewing? You know, out of all the social media. you got to look at all that, So would that be something that you'd think, like back end analytics?
I think it could. Yeah. I don't know who your audience is. I know my audience tends to be more of the newbies in the,
Yeah.
coaching
So let's talk
end of the
about
course.
having a Zoom meeting,
Mhm.
right? And how to set up a Zoom meeting and how to get butts and seats,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what
That's an
they
important one.
need.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
getting the butts and seats is the hardest part.
Well, no, actually, but I mean, getting people to sign up is the easy part. Getting people to show up. That's the
That's what I mean. Like get the butt
Yeah.
in the seat. I can
Yeah.
get your email, but I want your booty
Yeah,
in the
actually live with me.
and what I found is getting the butts and seats and getting them to stay. People come to the automated marketing summit, and it's kind of gone sideways, towards the end of this year. But we'd have 40, 50, 60 people in there and they would stay the entire 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
And I was going, wow. And it was because of the quality of speakers we had.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about that. So butts and seats events, getting and especially for the newbies. If you don't have Zoom, I want to say something because we got 2 minutes. We were going to get USA Info. What's it called? It's this thing where you get leads from,
Yeah, you can buy
and
lists.
and it's $8,000 a year. So you know what the salesperson did? They got free Zoom, which is 40 minutes.
Mm.
Okay? Right when the guy was closing us, and I had my partner
Oh,
and I on the phone, kicked us off. So then he's texting and calling us, and we're not answering, right? Because we're like, well, that's your fault. So we could tell about the pros and the cons of the free Zoom as compared to having live Zoom, which is only $160 a year or something, and then other technologies, and then being able to make the email capture, and then getting people on board. Even if it's only 2 people, we need your listeners to get on there and get the 2 people and get the marbles out of their mouth.
Yeah.
That's what I'm all about. Okay. So I'll write some content for that, and then we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See you
It's
then.
going to be called Getting the Marbles Out of Your Mouth and Butts and Seats, something like
All
that.
right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Talk to you then.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay.